Okay, I started a second stream.
Okay, for those joining in, we attempt to start at 7 o'clock, and after I called the meeting to order, we had determined that we did not have sound, so we paused here to get sound going. So we were at item 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. So would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I could hear the sound there. So.
Okay. A motion to approve the agenda, please.
I so move.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved by Member Klaus and seconded by Member Asseth to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? I'm going to point out one thing. If you notice under consent items, we've moved approving personnel for hiring and for resignations and for leave of absence to the consent agenda item. And we can do that. We will do a roll call vote when we do our consent agenda approval for that reason. And those items fall under the consent agenda policy. So if someone wants something pulled off, moved on to the regular agenda under new business, you simply state that it's moved over, and then we approve the consent agenda and the rest of the agenda as it stands. Is that clear to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
So is there any further discussion on approval to agenda?
Just one note, section H, I think the enclosure number is 18, not 17.
Oh, no, we have a 17 prior to that, so maybe we should have a 17A and a 17B. So G is
G is 17 if you look at the numbers, but
within
So
I.
H would be have.
I is
policy 417 is marked as I in the attachments. So I think it should just be enclosure number 18.
Well, then what do we do with I as enclosure 18?
Oh, there isn't an enclosure 18.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is.
there?
Yep.
Okay,
So you want to
my
put
mistake.
So we will make that 17A
Okay.
for item H and 17 enclosure 17B. I'm sorry, 17A for item G and 17B enclosure for item H.
I see 2 enclosure 18s.
We'll change it to say it's 17B for policy 417 when we
When we get there.
when we get there. Good eye, I did not catch that when I reviewed the agenda.
Okay. What I'm saying is we've got enclosure 18 that is 417,
Yes.
and then we've got enclosure.
And before that, you
16.
should have another 17 that was in policy 904.
Maybe
What
I missaw this.
you've got 6,
Okay, I must have missed.
Because I
for
have,
number 18, the first
904
one
is
is 417,
back here.
and your second one is 616.
I think we're good. We're good.
And 417 is marked as 18 in the back.
oh, we're missing 15. No, there it is. I get double check that before.
616, yeah, we have 2 18s.
There's 2 18s.
Yeah. 417 is marked 18 and 616 is marked 18. So what you had done is fine, 17B on 417.
Okay. All right, that makes sense now. All right. Okay, before we approve, just to make sure, item G, policy 904 is going to be 17A. H, which is policy 417, the enclosure is 17B. Okay, so that would just be the only change to the agenda. Any other discussion on the agenda? Okay, hearing no more discussion on the agenda, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the agenda with, under new business, G having enclosure 17A and H having enclosure 17B. If you're in favor of that agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, everyone tonight for joining online. We don't have any visitors in the room with us this evening, but we appreciate your vested interest in the district and the proceedings of our meeting tonight. So with that, we'll proceed to section 5, the public forum. And I'll ask for someone, if anyone wants to speak. Obviously, no one's here, so we will close the public forum. We will now move on to section 6, the consent items. So we would be approving the bills for payment, approving our minutes, which is enclosure 1 in the packet from the July 22nd, 2024 regular school board meeting, and enclosure 2, which is the personnel. And I will just quickly read those quick. So the new hires under that consent item would be Melissa Everson for junior high volleyball coach, Dan Gross for head boys basketball coach, Brad Vaglin for Title I teacher, Michael Palm as the 6th grade teacher, Rachel Lothard as food service, Heather Breedy in food service, Aaron Meyer in food service, William Anderson guidance counselor, and Daryl Correa as school counselor. We have 2 resignations. Brenda, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, is Cuellar, right?
Cuellar, yep.
Cuellar, food service, and that's effective July 31st, 2024. And Jane Sanchez, our summer migrant coordinator, that's effective August 31st, 2024. And then there would be a leave of absence for Skylar Schmidt under FMLA, approximately the 27th of November through February 14th, 2024.
That should be 2025.
Yep, that should be 2025. So, okay, any discussion on the consent, or is there a motion?
So moved, Pepple.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Peppel and seconded by member Oseth to approve the 3 consent items, which is the bills for payment, our July 22nd, 2024 minutes, and the approved personnel enclosure 2 with the edit of under the leave of absence to end at approximately February 14th, 2025. Is there any discussion on the consent items? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote on the consent items. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Member Peppel?
Aye.
Member Oseth?
Aye.
Member Klaus?
Aye.
Member Sheehan?
Aye.
And I, Member Frankham, and I as well. The motion carries to pass the consent items. All right. On to our reports. First would be our superintendent report. Joe?
All right, well, the project, as you can see, has been moving along. I think every meeting you've been able to see some pretty drastic changes out back here. The PowerPoint, or I don't know whatever you call it, PowerPoint that's been printed out, has some nice updates here. We're 100% done with all of the interior work for this first phase of the project. They're still doing some concrete pouring out here. They're nearly done with that. There's just a little bit just north of the playground area. The playground area is going to get poured with a rubberized playground material. We do have all of our equipment here. It'll be about 2 more weeks or so before that's usable, approximately. We've got at Bird Island, they've painted, they've done the stage floor, all of the stage lighting is ready to go. Everything else in there will start October 6th after the musical is done. So come see the musical on the beginning of October there, and then say goodbye to the curtains. We've got new utility lines installed. We've got a big electrical panel that has been put in, the switchgear as well. We've got a new water heater, storage tanks installed. That was interesting how they got those down there. That was a lot of work, I should say, to how they got them down into that room. Had to remove a door from in the wrestling room to get it through. Up next, immediately here, we're going to be finishing our playground, finishing the track work. There's going to be a really, really big crane, a 300-ton crane coming in, and that'll bring the lights up so that they can then install them. The lights have all been pre-hung on the I don't know which the beams, and so they're ready to go. Let's see, the grading out here is going to be real nice. We let the facilities community people talk about that a little bit maybe, but it's looking really good. Playground lighting is going in, and if you look at the very last page, it's pretty small. I might have sent this electronically. I know that I didn't. Okay. But yeah, this shows the time frame of the construction project. Everything should be, if everything goes to plan, ready to go by the fall of 26. So looking forward to that. This has been an undertaking, and we had a real good week with staff in services, and people understand that this is going to be some inconvenience here in order to get us to a point where we've got a really nice facility. So it's on its way. We're going to be opening the sealed bids on September 10th at Max's Grill. I believe that starts at 8 o'clock, right away at 8? Or is it 9 o'clock? Okay, thanks, Amy. 9 o'clock on September 10th. And we're expecting a good crowd to be there. They had over 700 people download the information for the bids, and they said that typically they'll get about 10% of those back. So if that's the case, that's a lot of bids coming in. So that's good for us. We did a leadership retreat with all the administrators. We went to Max's. We learned about how to work with each other and what each other's strengths are, and that was very well received. And it's given us kind of a language to talk about who does what well, and then how do I, if I know that I'm not great at this, who do I go to find someone that does enjoy doing it. It's not so much that what you're good and bad at, but it's what you really love to do versus what you don't love to do. And it was good. So it was a nice start to the year. The school board filers, we've got 5 people and 5 empty seats. So immediately, 4 of the people that filed are actually sitting here right now. Brad Osseth, Todd Sheehan, Mariella Klaus, and Greg Peppel. And then for the 5th seat, Brad Rederath, who is going to go. He applied for the 2-year seat. So, and I would expect the newspaper will do something where they'll have you write some things and let the community know who you are and what you stand for. And last, I've got negotiations is going to be starting up for all of the non-certified bargaining units. It's the custodians, the administrative assistants, the food service, and the paras. So if you're on the negotiations committee, we'll be contacting you soon and setting up some times. The first meeting is basically we sit down and kind of go over our plans, how we are going to meet with each other, how we're going to interact with each other, and then they'll give us a proposal, and we'll bring it back to the board. We'll probably have a closed session then to discuss our strategies on that, what we want to see. So
That's all
Which
I-
negotiations are those for?
That's for anything non-certified, so paras, administrative assistants, food service, and custodians. And they're all four separate this year. It had been, custodians were separate, and then the other three were together. But I agree with them wanting to do this. It makes, it's hard to compare what you do in food service to what a para is doing, to what an administrative assistant's doing. They're so different. And to try to cover that by one umbrella of a master agreement doesn't work so neatly, so.
Anything else for Jim? Okay. We will move on to item B under reports. Christine, or
Hi,
PK
yeah,
through
hi.
6 report,
Yeah,
please.
good evening. So I have quite a few things to talk about, but starting out with back to school workshop, we kicked off our letters training, so that was really good. And that, I don't know if you remember, it includes all of pre-K through 6, the special ed, EL, intervention. I don't think I forgot anybody. So we kicked that off. At our back to school conferences, we had a table or a booth set up to try to get some interest in parent or family advisory. And so we have a list of people that are interested in being part of an advisory. We are also going to bring back some family engagement nights. And so part of that family advisory, what I would like to hear from them is what do they actually feel that the families and students need from those family engagement nights. So that was very exciting. Our back to school conferences for pre-K through 4th grade. So K through 4, 95% of families showed up during those 2 days. So that was really, I think that's a really great number. And there was a lot of excitement. FastBridge testing. So if you know what FastBridge testing is, those are the assessments that we give 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. And it gives us a good idea of where the students are at and how we can best meet their needs. And so that testing period actually opened today. And so we will be doing those assessments coming up here. Some of the assessments are given by the classroom teachers. Some of them are given by the title staff, the Title I staff. So those are coming up. Go ahead.
Cover pre-K through 6, the whole group, or?
So no, it is actually just K through 6 does the FastBridge testing. Yeah.
I like how it was too bold on that, because that was one of the big testing packets that you could purchase.
Yeah.
That was required by that READ Act.
Yeah.
And state statute, and bold
Yeah.
was ahead of the game.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. It is outstanding. So we've got lots of data to look back at to see how we're progressing. So that's really exciting. We had New Teacher Day on August 5th. I included a picture of 4 of our 6 new teachers, 7 new teachers. No, 6. We have 6 new teachers. So the picture there shows Ethan Staples, who is high school. Erica Hennon is our special ed at the elementary. Bill Anderson is a counselor, and Mike Palm is our 5th and 6th grade math teacher. Fall workshop week was really exciting, as Mr. Menton had stated. I have some pictures of our first elementary staff meeting, which was really great. I had them working in groups on one of the activities that we did was to help them identify the school's core values. And so what they felt was really important, and they came up with a really good list, and we're gonna whittle that list down to just a few core values at our next staff meeting. So it was a fun time. It was really good. PBIS, if you know what PBIS is, it's positive behavior intervention and supports. And so we did an expectation rotation with K through 6th grade students They went to different areas in the building, so bathroom, hallway, the playground. I was the one that was in charge of talking about what are the expectations on the playground, and it was a lot of fun because we have a temporary playground where they are playing, but I told them that it doesn't matter where we're playing. These are things that we should be following. These are rules and expectations that we can follow anywhere, whether we're at our true playground or our temporary one. So that was really good, and it was nice for me to get to see all the kids, K through 6. So that was really exciting. We have a new class that is being led by one of our school counselors. So Bill Anderson, I mentioned him. He is doing, we've called it Empowered Warriors. It's for our 5th and 6th grade students. And he is going in during their specials time. So they have Phy-Ed, music, STEAM, and then this social emotional class. And so he's been meeting with the 5th and 6th graders, and I think that's a really positive thing. And then the last thing there is just the new playground. This is an old picture, so it's come a lot farther than this, but we are all very excited. The kids are very excited to have the new playground up and running. So, any questions for me?
No questions, but one comment.
Yes,
I know that you don't have it in the packet, but one thing we would like to see is
yes.
enrollment numbers by
Okay.
month
Oh,
for
sure.
each grade level.
Yep, absolutely. I can do that.
Thank you.
100%.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's move on to our 7th through 12th grade principal report. Missy?
I did think of enrollment numbers on my way here. It's been adds and drops all week anyway, so I don't even know where we're at, but especially with other areas school districts not quite starting yet, so it's been interesting. Everybody's done a great job, So I have on here the first day of school was a good one. We've now had 6 days of school and it's going okay. It's just going. Having a veteran staff is such a gift because they just hop in and it goes. There's always a honeymoon period at the beginning of the school year. Some of that is starting to end, but it's okay because we are really approaching some things differently. So for instance, we've had a couple of students that have already hit 3 unexcused tardies, which equals a detention. So normally we would give a detention and that would be it. But today, a team of us met with those students. We problem solved and asked them why they were late, what the reasons were for, and what they're going to do to change their behavior. So we had those meetings, we took notes. They will still serve their detention. If it continues after 2 more unexcused tardy, it's a parent meeting, automatic parent meeting, and we'll go from there. So it was just a little shift, and I liked it, and it felt good because some of the things they had going on were kind of legit things that they just couldn't wrap their head around. So fingers crossed, it was good.
I might add right now that we've started on a very different note, and both of our building principals are not afraid to have those tough conversations with parents, with kids, and it can be hard sometimes when you're worried about getting attacked by a parent or even a kid, and they're both willing to take these on and not shy away. I appreciate that.
Okay, lost my train of thought and I'll just keep going on. So anyways, we are going and we will continue to just keep moving forward. First day of school with students, we talked about respect, and a lot of times with younger students, it's you got to earn my respect. They will tell you that all the time. You need to earn my respect. And there's many of us that are on the opposite. Like, I will respect you simply because we're humans, right? So we talked about what it looks like to just let that all go and just offer basic respect because we are all humans. And continuing with that language, like, you don't have to be friends. You don't even have to converse with each other, but we don't have to be mean. And we're working on that. And it's going to take some time. but I'm confident that we can shift that culture. So that's cool. It'll take work, but it's good. Our first newsletter was sent out, and I thought that was fun. I'm hoping to have student groups add to it for this next newsletter, which will be coming up soon. Chris talked quite a bit about staff days, and on the high school side of things, in our staff meeting, our first staff meeting, we picked up where we were at last year, talking about communication and discipline, and how are we going to improve that. What steps we've taken since last spring already when the conversation started. We have several action steps that we've taken, and what we need to do as a get together as a team. It's not just admin that takes this on, it's a whole building. So we talked about that, and also being flexible and being able to pivot when things are going with construction and things like that. So it was good. And during our PLC time, we talked about student voice and staff voice, and looking at some data around that and going forward. So that was a really cool conversation. We did some connecting circle work out there, just listening to one another, and it was fun to see. I included some pictures, you guys can look at that. School counselors were hired, and Bill has been doing some great work already with the younger students, and he'll be helping out with the district testing. So that's great. He's got a good background in that. And then Daryl, our other counselor, should hopefully be here within the next few weeks. I am super excited to meet him in person. He has about 11 years experience as a school counselor in the Philippines, and I was very impressed with him during the interview, so I'm hoping it's a good thing. A couple things, I don't know if any of you reviewed the cell phone toolkit. This is what it looks like printed out. It's a big thing that was sent out. Bold has had a cell phone policy for the last 2 years, at least since I've been here, and it equals what is in here. So you may have seen other school districts talking about their new cell phone policies or things like that. We are not behind, we are ahead of the game. The recommendations in here are no cell phones up till 8th grade. Well, no cell phones at all, but alternative plans for high schoolers in passing time and things like that. So we don't have a no cell phone policy for K6 or K8. So that's something we can look at implementing and talk about this more as we go forward over the next year, because no cell phone schools, there's several that are moving that way. I would love to move that way for the reasons listed right here in this report. So anybody wants to talk more at that at a later date, let me know. I've also included the impact report from Woodland Centers. So that was for our alcohol and drug counselor as well as the school and behavioral. And we have met with them prior to the school year, and they'll be here serving us again. So we're really lucky to have them. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Got a question and a comment, and
Okay.
thank you for the emphasis on mental health and student well-being and behavior and being proactive on all that.
It's what the community, I mean, it's listed right here in our strategic plan, right? I got to be part of the tail end of that when it was planning. And the Bold community has prioritized that, and we need to, live up to that. So we have put some really good things in place over the last couple of years, and we're going to continue to build on it. So it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. So thank you for supporting that. Thank you all.
Thanks, Missy. Okay. Let's move on now to item D, our activities report. That's enclosure 7 in the packet. Derek's always available via phone call or email. Any questions? So
I will point out that he made sure each of you have your activities passes here. And then, as I'm sure you read, but so that people at home watching can hear it, he was able to help get a grant so that we are providing free activities passes for all students, grades 7 through 12. So really excited about that. Hopefully get some more people into what's going on here and not excluding someone because they can't afford to pay the $5 or whatever to get into a game. So we're really happy about that.
Any other questions for Jim? Board member? Okay. With that, let's move on to item E, our community education report. That's enclosure 8 in our packet. And probably the big one on that is the discontinuation with the Candler County YMCA.
Yeah, that sort of just happened, and we were just pretty stunned by that. But it's not going to be difficult for us to take that back under our community ed. We've got people that are stepping forward already to cover some of the things that have been that the YMCA have been doing, like the pickleball and things like that at Bird Island. So we'll take back over some of the after school things. We don't have an after school program yet, but some of the camps and things like that the Y had been doing, we'll take those back up.
They provided notice of termination.
Amy, it was about a week. I think about a week's notice. Yeah.
Well, I'd be curious how that relates back to the contract. Because we did have an MOU or a contract, I believe.
We do.
I don't remember exactly what the letter said, but there was an end date and they did continue some services through a specific date, but then they were done after that.
Okay.
But them in the building was done.
Yeah, we were all a little shocked by that, but we've got this.
Was there a justification or reasoning?
Uh, The lack of numbers. I think the big one was the after-school program. Another big one was their summer program. In the past, we'd done a summer rec program, and it cost, I think we charged $40, and it was mornings for all of June, and we were losing $15,000 a year on that. So they came in, and the idea was supposed to be that it's more expensive, but it's an all-day program. They've got supervised, like adult trained staff. Every week they had a field trip someplace, and they went neat places like the Science Museum or the Sky Zone or things like that. They did some neat things every week. Then the idea was that could take the place of your childcare in the summer, and then if they continued into the school year with the after school program, that could just be your year-round childcare. But people were a little bit put off by the price tag of it, which it was still quite a bit cheaper than paying for childcare for the week. I think it was like $140 per kid per week. I suspect that it was it was the low numbers that they just weren't interested in continuing.
Okay, sure. All right, anything else on the community ed report? Okay, let's move on to item F, our pool report. That's enclosure 9 in the packet.
See, we've got a pool committee meeting or board meeting Wednesday, September 4th, I think. I know it's Wednesday. I'm not sure if that's the 4th.
Yes.
Is that the 4th? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It just got sent out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and as always, Tracy can be reached via email or phone call. All right. Let's move on to item G, our facilities report. That's enclosure 10 in the packet. Are there any questions or comments around the facilities report from Denny? Okay, I'm going to keep moving on then. Let's move on to item H, our school board committee reports. So we have only one that report for the meeting. That would be our facilities committee. Todd or Greg, are both of you going to report or Joe?
I can start this because we met, we got updates on everything from Nexus, mostly what I showed you here, but a much more in-depth view of it. Then we, at the end of it, we took a little hike out to the playground area. We looked at how they're doing the drainage. We talked about some other ideas that might improve the drainage out there. Took a look at the new track in that area, and if you want, feel free to go over there and take a look at it.
The new track is impressive.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Just walking on it, I can feel the difference, and
Yeah, it's got a lot to go.
you're not going to see me running on it.
Oh, you ran in the parking lot, Joe.
Yes, well, I did once.
Construction company doing the playground is supposed to be this week, it's supposed to finish that, or what the weather, they've had a bad construction.
Yeah. So the weather has really pushed everything off, but I think they're probably I'm speculating here, but I think they're at a point now where it's not going to matter so much. The hard part is when you've got these huge holes you're digging and it's turned to mud, and now you've got equipment that's sliding down into there.
Okay. Anything else from the facilities committee?
Not too much, other than they have to do a little leveling of ground over between the new concrete strip that's put from the ticket booth out, and be grading that towards the fence. We're a little concerned that some of those dips that are out there might still be there the way it currently is. We kind of talked a little bit about possibility of maybe adding a little bit of a ditch to run to, there's a lot of drop to where the drains are closest to the fence. So there's plenty of slope, it's just a matter of, we want to get the water away from there. So a little bit of discussion there, and nothing really planned yet as far as what might happen. Besides that, everything else is great. The lights are going to be going up this week, it sounds like tomorrow,
Maybe
maybe,
we'll see what happens
before Friday. Is that what it's supposed to be?
I hope so. Yeah, it's a 300-ton crane that they're bringing out there, so. But I did notice that they had done something, they're gonna bring it just south of the goalpost down there, which it's still a pretty soft, swampy area, but I'm not sure what they did. I just saw some skid steers going back and forth over there.
So they need such a big crane because the new lights are so much heavier than the old ones? Or they need the height?
Reach, probably.
Probably the reach, that's a big part of it, so they don't have to drive out over the new track. Ideally, we would have done that before working on the track, but it wasn't possible with the availability of the materials. So they'll be able to just drive it behind the fence here and reach it out and hang it up that way. Same thing on the other side.
One question, Jim, do you know all the electrical that is in the poles, is that all ready to go just to plug the lights in? I don't recall that being mentioned.
Yeah, they mentioned that all the wiring's been done, it's just a matter of getting them home.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, they've been working a lot out there.
Anything else on the facilities committee? Okay,
I have a question on other committees though, being new to the board and I'm on committees. Who calls the meeting and how do you find out about it?
Well, typically we meet, some committees do meet more regularly than others, but we meet when there's a need. Typically the board will want something done and we'll do that, or maybe it's maybe we need something with the high school league, so we'll call that together.
You call that then?
typically
Or-
Jim will send out the.
Oh, okay,
To everybody,
okay.
typically.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's move on then to section 8, new business. So the first item under new business is our third and final reading of policy 213, school board committees. That's enclosure 11 in our packet. Is there a motion? there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved by member Klaus and seconded by member Oseth to approve the third and final reading of policy 213, school board committees, as published in the board packet and online. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote on approving policy 213, school board committees, as published in our packet and online. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries to approve policy 213, school board committees. Okay, let's move on to item B under new business. This will be our third and final reading of policy 406, the public and private personnel data. Is there a motion? That's enclosure 12 in the packet.
So moved, Pepple.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Peppel and seconded by member Sheehan to approve policy 406, public and private personnel data, as published online and in our board packet. Is there any discussion?
That's on page 406-8, item 8, responsible authority. There needs to be something filled in for name and title and telephone there.
We did actually correct that earlier today. So on
Okay.
the official document, we decided not to print the whole thing out for everyone again. But so what it says is, as designated the superintendent, and then it gives the school phone number.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, we will proceed to vote then on approving policy 406, public and private personnel data, as published online. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve policy 406, public and private personnel data. Okay, we'll move on to item C. That is our third and final reading of policy 524, which is internet technology and cell phone acceptable use and safety policy. That's enclosure 13 in the packet. That is the 12-page policy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by member Oseth and seconded by member Klaus to approve policy 524, internet technology and cell phone acceptable use and safety policy, as published online and in our board packet. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote on approving policy 524, internet technology and cell phone acceptable use and safety policy. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries and we've approved policy 524, internet technology and cell phone acceptable use and safety policy. All right, we are moving on to item D. That's our third and final reading of policy 403, which is discipline, suspension, and dismissal of school district employees. That's enclosure 14 in our packet. And is there a motion?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Sheehan and seconded by member Peppel to approve the policy 403, discipline, suspension, and dismissal of school district employees, as published online and in our board packet. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote on approving policy 403, discipline, suspension, and dismissal of school district employees. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to approve policy 403, discipline, suspension, and dismissal of school district employees. Okay, we will now move on to item E in the packet. This would be our third and final reading of policy 606, the textbooks and instructional materials. That is enclosure 15 in the packet. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Klaus and seconded by member Peppel to approve the third and final reading of policy 606, textbooks and instructional materials. Is there any discussion on the policy? Any discussion? Any discussion? All right. Hearing no discussion, we'll move on to vote. All members in favor of approving policy 606, textbooks and instructional materials, say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, say nay. Motion carries and we've approved policy 606 textbooks and instructional materials as published online and in the board packet. Okay, we are now on item F on the agenda under new business. This is a second reading of policy 505, the distribution of non-school sponsored materials on school premises by students and employees. That's enclosure 16 in the packet and online. So we're not voting tonight. This will be voted on at the next meeting. Any comments on it? Okay. Hearing no comments, then we will move on to item G. That would be our second reading of policy 904. That's the distribution of materials on school district property by non-school persons. So that's enclosure number 17A in our packet. Again, this one would be approved at the next board meeting in September.
Actually, one thing on this, under procedures, section B.
Yep.
It says, request should be informed in writing of the reason for the denial or limitation, which is fine, in writing, I have no problem with it, but there's no address or email requested of the individual to get them the written. Is it up to them to just come pick it up, or? And then what timeline? It says at least 5 days in advance to submit, but there's nothing saying how soon they would have a timeline. So just a couple of weeks.
Okay. Policy committee will follow up
Yep, that's fine.
on that point, Greg, with Jim, and we'll,
That's perfectly fine. I just happened to read through it and happened to notice it's talking about in writing, but yet there's really no request for contact info other than name and phone number. But
okay. That's why it's nice to have another set of eyes on the documents.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on item G in policy 904? Okay, let's move on then to item H under new business. That would be our second reading of policy 417, chemical use and abuse. That is now enclosure 17B in our packet. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Hearing no comments or discussion. Again, this will be up for voting and approving at the next meeting in September. Let's move on to item I. This would be our, the motion would be to table the second reading of policy 616, the school district system accountability until the September board meeting. Would there be a motion?
so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded by member Pepple, or moved by member Pepple and seconded by member Klaus to table the second reading of policy 616, school district system accountability until the September board meeting. And I'll just state why we're tabling this for a second reading. It's because administration still needs time with the early school start to get the dates put in place and curriculum cycle and everything input into the policy. And we want to bring forward a fairly complete policy for the second reading. So that's the rationale behind it.
And setting up the committee.
That's setting up the committee, yeah.
That's actually the biggest part of it. We have the curriculum cycles and all that, but it's the committee itself, that's the real big part of this. So.
Yep, I forgot about that
Yep.
aspect. So, any other discussion on that? Okay, so any more discussion on item I under new business, or any more discussion? Okay, hearing no more discussion, we will proceed to vote on tabling the second reading of policy 616 to the September board meeting. All members in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to table the second reading of policy 616, which is school district system accountability, until the September board meeting. Okay. We are now on to item J. That is our first reading of policy 413. That's harassment and violence with form. And so the question on this goes to page 7, if everyone would turn. At the top under item G, we need to designate someone in the district, and it can't be Jim. And so Jim had some recommendations on who could.
I mean, it could be anyone. I would recommend a principal, a counselor, activities director, somebody like that. Building principal makes probably the most sense to me. But counselor or social worker as well.
Okay. Or is there any discussion from the board on who you feel should be designated?
Principal or counselor, either one, where would it fall best on their workload and who would have most contact? Who would students go to report that? Where would their ease be in reporting that?
I guess I'd recommend the counselor.
Okay, so we would want our high school and junior high counselor to do that. What's the title we need to insert there?
I guess I would say,
Age appropriate school counselor or something.
I would,
along
yeah,
those lines.
that's a good way to say it. Age appropriate school counselor.
Okay. Okay, that is who, that's what we will put in for verbiage then under G. Okay, I think that was the only thing we need feedback on from the board at this point, other than if there's something else the board has questions on or concerns on in the policy. So we'll bring this to the September meeting as a second reading. So take your time and look over it again, and it'll be up for voting at the October 28th meeting, assuming we stay on track of a 3-month review. Okay. Let's move on then to item K. That would be our first reading of policy 526. That's hazing prohibition. That's enclosure 20 in the packet. And this one, again, is the first reading and would be up, if it stays on track, to approve in October at our board meeting. So take time again to continue looking this policy over. Does anyone have any questions or concerns right now on it? Okay. Great. Let's move on then to item L. This is going to be our first and final reading of policy 531, the Pledge of Allegiance. This is an existing policy with only a few little minor changes. The minor changes are in the note at the top from our existing policy, and then under legal references, the current one just lists subdivision 3 and subdivision 4 as separate lines. They're combined together in the new policy. So with that note, is there a motion to approve this policy?
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by member Klaus and seconded by member Asseth to approve our first and final reading of policy 531, the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussion, we will now proceed to vote on approving policy 531, the Pledge of Allegiance, as posted online and in our board packet, which is enclosure 21. All members in favor of approving policy 531, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, motion carries to approve policy 531, the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, the next one is our first reading of policy 806. That would be Enclosure 22 in our packet. And this is crisis management policy and policy 4. So this would potentially be up for approval at our October meeting. And
There's gonna be a lot that we as an administrative team are gonna go through on this one. We have really tried to make our crisis policies as simple and as standardized as possible. We've worked through Alice training with the police and the sheriff's departments. And a big part of that is, where the leader in that room is making split-second decisions based on the knowledge that they have. And it's not necessarily about, oh, well, we got some fire, let's, we're supposed to take things like that, people have to be empowered to make those decisions. So we want to look through this and really make sure that we're not saying we're going to be doing something that we're not actually doing.
Yeah, and right now it's scheduled for approval at the October meeting, but we want to make sure we get this right because of administration feedback on what we approve. And we
And
do
if it
need,
takes a little more time, we can table it.
yes,
Absolutely.
yep. But it gets it in the cycle, and this is one we need to do our update on. Any other questions on policy 806 with the first reading? Okay. Let's move on then to item N under new business, and that would be a motion to designate James Menton as the identified official with authority for the MDE, that's the Minnesota Department of Education, External User Access Recertification System. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by member Peppel
Second.
and seconded by member Sheehan to designate James Menton as the identified official with authority for the MDE, External User Access Recertification System. Is there any discussion?
This is an annual thing. It gives me the ability to go in and go to the state website and say, this person is our testing coordinator. And by doing that, then they get access to a bunch of testing information, test results and things like that. They're part of secured systems. It gives me, I can identify who our special ed people are and give that access to that through the state. There's 30 some different things that I approve on there, and the board has to do this every year, so.
Any other discussion or questions on item O, or item N? Any other discussion? Okay, let's proceed to vote on designating James Menton as the identified official authority for the MDE External User Access Recertification System. If you're in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries to designate James Menton as the identified official with authority for the MDE External User Access Recertification System. Okay, we are now on item O. That would be enclosure 23 in our packet, and that would need a motion to approve changes to the 2024-2025 girls volleyball coaching list. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by member Osseth and seconded by member Klaus to approve changes to the 2024 through 2025 girls volleyball coaching list. Is there any discussion?
What were the changes?
We had Melissa Everson had been actually labeled wrong,
Oh,
and so we switched her and Leanne Snow.
So Melissa moves to a junior high volleyball coach position, and Leanne moves to the assistant volleyball coach position. Okay, any other questions or discussion? Any other questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing no more discussion, we will proceed to vote on approving the changes to the 2024-2025 girls volleyball coaching list, which is enclosure 23 in the packet and posted online. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries to approve the changes to the 2024-2025 girls volleyball coaching list. Okay. And item P, so this would be to set a public hearing dates for proposed property taxes payable 2025. It'll be, I believe I gotta read this, don't I?
I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna read this and then I'll ask for someone to make the motion in a second. The Department of Revenue has established a sequence of events and assignment of reporting responsibilities for the county, school districts, and cities to follow in establishing public budget hearings. All initial and continuation hearing dates selected must be held after November 24th and no later than December 30th, 2024. The continuation hearing date selected must be at least 5 business days, but no more than 14 business days after the initial hearing. Hearings may not be held on a Sunday or holiday. If held on a day between Monday and Friday, the hearing must be held after 6:00 p.m. at any reasonable time of day. The public hearings may be held on the same day as a regularly scheduled meeting, but must be handled as a separate meeting. The recommendation would be our hearing date of Monday, November 25th, 2024, a continuation hearing date of Monday, December 16th, 2024, and the location would be at the district office here in Olivia, and the time for both of those dates would be at 6:30 p.m. The timelines then are on or by September 30th, 2024, certify the truth in taxation and continuation hearing dates to the county auditors. On or by September 23rd, 2024, the regular meeting, we would adopt a proposed 24 payable 25 levy. On or before September 30th, 2024, we would certify the proposed 24 payable 25 levy to the county auditor. Then on November 25th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m., we would hold the public hearing in the district office here. Then on December 16th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m., the continuation hearing, if necessary, would be held here in the district office. Then on December 16th, 2024, at the regular board meeting, we would adopt the final 23 payable 24 levy. And then on or by December 30th, 2024, we would certify the final 23 payable 2024 levy to the county auditor on or by December 30th, 2024, where we would notify the Department of Education of our final certified levy. Keep in mind that if our proposed maximum for pay 2025 is less than the pay 2024 levy, we are not required to hold a truth in taxation hearing. We will not know our pay 2025 levy amount until later this fall. Even though we may not need to hold a hearing, we still need to set a public hearing date at tonight's meeting in order to keep within the requirements and deadlines of the school district levy limitation and certification calendar. Is there someone who is willing to make that motion? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by member Sheehan and seconded by member Osseth to set our public hearing dates for proposed property taxes payable 2025 as I read and is published in the agenda. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote then on item P. All members in favor of approving item P to set the public hearing dates for proposed property taxes payable 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to set the public hearing dates for proposed property taxes payable 2025 as read and published in the agenda. Okay, with that, we're going to move item Q. We're going to move to enter a closed session under Minnesota Statute 13.010 4.D.05 subdivision 3 to discuss a year-end evaluation of Superintendent James Menton. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there-
Second.
It's been moved by member Peppel and seconded by member Oseth to move into closed session. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. We'll proceed to vote on moving into closed session under Minnesota statute 13.D.05 subdivision 3 to discuss the year-end evaluation of Superintendent Menton. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries at 8:10 PM to move into closed session. So we'll recess for a few minutes to close out here and get set up for the closed session and allow the room to clear out. And then we'll come back into our open session.
All right.